What's going on, everybody? Cowboy C3. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Not really a lot. I mean, he's got some big topics to talk about. A little injury news about Trayvon Diggs. Kind of a weird situation going on with that. I don't. It's just strange. This whole week this Cowboy week has been strange. But let's talk about it, man. Right here on Cowboy Spit.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take
Cowboys.
Throws back of the end zone. There's
What's going on, everybody? Cowboy C3. There's been a lot to kind of digest here in the last, couple of days, especially with this whole thing about the coaching search, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But there was some other news that kind of happened. It started in the right around mid-season with Trayvon Diggs. Actually, it started before the season even started. There was a lot of talk that maybe he didn't take his, he tore his ACL last year in practice. Maybe he didn't take his rehab as seriously as, some people may have wanted him to take, particularly the organization. They felt like he didn't take it serious. And we kind of talked about it, on a podcast earlier this year, last year. And it was a strange injury. And then, they said during the offseason that maybe he didn't take the rehab as serious as he should have. And he came out this year and, he wasn't the same Trayvon Diggs. Well, they sat him down, right around, a little bit after mid-season, and it was the same knee that was giving him trouble. Well, today he has surgery, and the surgery could keep him out parts of training camp, if not longer. That's what multiple sources say. He underwent a chondrial tissue graft in which a piece of bone and cartilage were transplanted into the affected area to improve joint function. I don't know what that means, man. I'm not a doctor, but that shit sounds serious to me. Like, you're getting a piece of bone put in your knee to improve your function of the joint. That sounds like, I highly doubt that he's the same player. I mean, he wasn't the same player this year, and he may not even be what he was this year. And that's unfortunate, man, because, Trayvon Diggs at one point in time was probably the best corner in football. I mean, he was an excellent cornerback. It was unfortunate the way he got hurt, especially being in practice. I can just remember just walking around, doing whatever, and then somebody was like, "Hey, Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL." I'm like, "How did he tear his ACL, man?" They had practice today, and he tore it in practice. And he came back this year, and I don't know if this is one of those injuries that happens when you're not in shape and you try to come out and you try to go hard. I don't know the answer to that, but I know that they weren't happy with his rehab, especially, his offseason rehab. He came back and maybe, they paid him a lot of money. Maybe he felt some pressure from the organization to come back early. I don't know. Well, wasn't earlier than the timeline, but, the season was about to start, and we need, our best corner. And especially with the other corner out for the period of time that he was out, it was just one of those situations, man, where it just seemed funny the entire time. And, I hope that he has a speedy recovery, and I hope that everything works out for him, but that's not a good look, man. It's not. So anyway, it kind of baffles me sometimes, with these Cowboys, the lack of preparation, and I'll explain myself in just a second. There are a lot of people this year that are, coaches that are available, particularly coordinators that are available, for head coaching positions. And Brian Johnson probably being the leader of the pack. excellent offensive coordinator. I love the way Detroit plays. The way they, especially the way he calls plays for the Detroit offense. They have a lot of weapons, sure they do, but he does an excellent job calling plays. Aaron Glenn, despite how the last game of the season went, you have to really look at what Aaron Glenn did with the Detroit Lions defense this year. They had a really good year despite half of their defense going out with injuries. Shit, more than half, probably 3/4 of their defense going out with injuries. They lost, it lost Aiden Hutchinson playing against us. And, they never really missed a step until the playoffs, until they played Washington, and he had an excellent year despite what was going on within the organization. He had a great year, and not within the organization like a bad thing. Just the injury bug hit them hard. He probably hit them just as hard as they did the Cowboys, but they still ended up with the number 1 seed, and it finally just caught up to him. Robert Saleh, no matter what you think about him, man, he is a leader of men. He is an excellent defensive coordinator, and it's somebody that the Cowboys interviewed Kellen Moore. I'm not a big Kellen Moore fan, never have really been a big Kellen Moore fan, but you have to give him credit with what's going on in Philadelphia. Even, if it meant not throwing the ball 75, 80 times a game and just turning around, handing the ball to Saquon Barkley, whoever the running back is, 75, 80 times a game. It's successful. He's had some really good success, in Philadelphia. Much as I hate to say it, they've been very successful. You interview Robert Saleh, you interview Kellen Moore, and then this talk starts to happen about Brian Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer is the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, and I did a poll at work today, and I was just walking around asking people like, hey, you know who Brian Schottenheimer is? And they were like, yeah, he's the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And they were like, to be honest with you, man, I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't what's going on this week. And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't you know that? I always thought Mike McCarthy was the offensive coordinator. He's the one that calls plays. And which Mike McCarthy is the guy that calls plays, was the guy that calls plays. So you take a look at Brian Schottenheimer's history as a coach. And Brian Schottenheimer has been a coach for a long time. He's been a head coach, a coordinator in NFL and in college for 25 years. And I highlighted some things about Brian Schottenheimer that I would like you to see. So he was the Washington Redskins quarterback coach in 2001. They had the 28th ranked offense. San Diego Chargers from 2002, 2005 quarterback coach. Only years Drew Brees where he didn't look like a Hall of Fame level quarterback. Jets 2006 to 2011, wasted some of the best defensive NFL years, with Mark Sanchez as quarterback. And, they rode with Mark Sanchez, made it to some AFC championship games, just couldn't win the big one, right? Goes to the Rams as offensive coordinator, 25th, 21st, and 21st in offense. Then he goes to Georgia in 2015. They have the 85th ranked offense, and he gets Mark Richt fired. The offense was horrendous in 2015. Gets a job as the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach with the Indianapolis Colts in 2016, 2017. They're the 30th ranked offense in 2017. 2018 to 2020, he goes to Seattle. And he don't let Russ cook. Russ don't cook. You know what I mean? He just doesn't. And Russ ends up leaving and going to Denver, where he didn't cook either. He did better than. He did better than the media would let you out to believe. He had a pretty decent year in Denver, but him and his head coach, man, they didn't see him, and Sean Payton didn't see eye to eye at all. And then he went to Pittsburgh this year, and he didn't do that terrible at all. 2021, he's the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville, and 32nd ranked offense in NFL, and it's just dysfunctional. And Trevor Lawrence, is just horrendous while he's the offensive coordinator. Then he comes here. And he doesn't call plays, so you really cannot. And I'm not even so sure that was his philosophy. That the Cowboys' offense was his philosophy, because that philosophy has been with the Cowboys since 2014. It's the same philosophy. It's the same plays. It's the same thing that the Cowboys do. He was a figurehead as an offensive coordinator here. Mike McCarthy called the plays. It's the same old plays that the Cowboys run. It's the same old thing. he hasn't been successful in 25 years. He's never gotten an opportunity to be a head coach. And then you got this whole thing today where, you start talking about this Pete Carroll, maybe, his name is brought up a lot of traction here in the last, probably 12 hours. And there was a report that came out that Brian Schottenheimer has a 5-year deal and it's just waiting to be announced to the public tomorrow. And I tell you why that is the perfect hire for the Cowboys. It's the perfect hire for the Cowboys. All you have to do is look at the history of coaches that Jerry Jones has hired in the last 30 years, and he's perfect. He's absolutely perfect. This guy, 25 years in the league, desperate for a head coaching job. He'll do whatever Jerry tells him to do. He'll do it. I want to be a head coach. Okay, these are the parameters that you're going to be a head coach with. All right, cool. I'll be the head coach. Right? Kellen Moore, you do a phone interview. You interview Robert Schaller, phone interview. Everybody's a phone interview. They interviewed Brian Schottenheimer for 2 days. He went in, I think, on Tuesday, and then he came back on Wednesday. This is a total of like a 7.5, 8-hour interview, right? He's perfect. He's perfect. I told you guys this a couple of weeks ago that Jerry is not trying to build these relationships with people that he can't keep his thumb on. This is the perfect candidate to do that with. This is a guy that really, really, really wants to be a head coach. He really, really, really wants to carry on his father's name, because Marty Schottenheimer was his dad. Great coach in San Diego. Excellent coach in San Diego. This is what he wants to do. I'm coaching because I want to be a head coach. I want to be the guy. I want to be the name, the name on when it says head coach at the top of the team. I want my name up there. I'm tired of being a coordinator. I'm tired of it. Has he done anything to do a head coach has he done anything to deserve to be a head coach in the last 25 years? I just showed it to you. No, he hasn't, right? But he now understands how this team and the philosophy of this team works. He understands that now. He understands how the nuances work in the front office. He understands who the boss is. He does. And there's a lot of talk talking about that, Jerry might want Dion, but Stephen don't want to deal with Dion. Stephen didn't even want to deal with Dion back then. He didn't even like Dion then. He don't like him now. Brian Schottenheimer is the perfect guy. Brian Schottenheimer is the guy that's going to come in here and do what the hell we tell him to do. Dion ain't going to do that. Dion is not going to do that. Brian Schottenheimer will. That's why he's the perfect hire. So what about, the fans? What do we think? I've been frustrated, upset, mad, and I was looking for kind of the perfect thing to say about it, and I couldn't really, you can't really put your thumb on the, it's disappointing, right? It is. It's very disappointing. And I was riding in the car, and I listened to the sports talk radio station here all the time, man, because they have a great show. They do. And I listen to them all the time. And, these guys, they speak the truth. They really do. And I want you to hear what they had to say about this whole situation.
Washington winning was good for the Cowboys.
Overreaction. I don't think it phases them. Is it just enough for Jerry Jones to have a $10 billion team? Is Jerry told this by anyone close to him, or they all just kiss his rear end? Like, do you want to go out like that? You want to go out being the new Dan Snyder or the old Al Davis? And I don't know if it really affects him or that they care.
This just seems like a completely, utterly ridiculous potential hiring, and it makes it very, very difficult. It pretty much you're on the verge of like zero faith as a Cowboy fan. I mean, I'm one that is very usually optimistic. I search for reasons to try and be hopeful. I think at this point, honest to God, the only reason Cowboy fans would gather any hope is if the Jones family sold the team. I really do. They are going ahead right now and putting themselves in a position where they're acting like they don't care about who the head coach is, which is in line with everything you said in the opening segment with Jerry. Because he said I could get how many? 100, thousands of coaches to come in here and coach football team. You had Jimmy Johnson. Best thing he's ever done was hire Jimmy. Jimmy put together those teams, and since then he's been trying to get the same type of success where he gets the credit, and it's gotten you nowhere. It's now got you the biggest NFC championship drought in the entire conference. It's disgraceful. And he's still going to make his money because schmucks like me that don't love the Cowboys for the Joneses. You love the Cowboys because you grew up going to games with your family members and you fall in love with the sport. And I love the Cowboys because of the Dallas Cowboys, not because of the names on the back of the jerseys or who owns the team. It's because of the team. But unfortunately now, it's just depression. That's what it is being a Cowboy fan. It's utter depression and anger, and where the hell do I go from here? And a hire like this isn't getting your, even if it's Kellen Moore, maybe it's not shoddy. And I'm not trying to crap on him. Good dude, family's awesome. They walk by us all the time, Brian, in post games. Yeah. But this is an utterly crap hiring if that's what you're going to do. It's disgraceful, and it's a slap in the face to your fans. It's like you're doing a bit. Do you give a damn? The answer is no right now, you don't. You don't care about winning a championship, and all you care about is printing money. This just seems like
That's the only concern is how much money we make. You don't want to win if you make a hire like this. You don't want to. It's blatantly obvious now that you don't want to win. You don't care about winning. You don't care about anything but putting butts in the seats at AT&T Stadium. That's all you care about. You care about getting primetime games. You care about how many sponsors you can get. You don't care about anything else. You don't care about winning. There are guys out there that are qualified to come in here and make a difference for this football team. There are. And the best you can come up with is Brian Damn Schottenheimer, who's been a habitual failure. He has. And it's disappointing. You know, dudes at 105.3, they had it right. It's disappointing. It is. It's disgraceful. It's like a mockery of the Dallas Cowboy fans. It really is. And, you know, I'm a humongous Dallas Cowboy fan. Like him, you know, I grew up, I went to see, my dad and my grandfather was season ticket holders. I went to the game with them, you know, starting off when I was 8, 9 o'clock. Hell, 8, 9 years old. I had my first drink at a damn Cowboy game. You know what I'm saying? That's how I grew up. I grew up silver and blue. That's how I grew up. Love the team from the beginning. Support the team from the beginning. You know, always will support the Cowboys no matter what. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe it is. We're all kind of blind here in Dallas. We just are. We've had the wool pulled over our eyes for 30-something years. We really have. And it's disappointing. It really is. And there are some things that this team can do to change that. You know, maybe this is all just smoke and mirrors. Maybe this is something that's not going to happen. Maybe Jerry just pulling our leg this time and something serious is going to happen. But I doubt it. History has shown you that this is the way Jerry Jones does business. He thought Mike McCarthy would come into the room. He could lowball him, offer him a contract. Mike McCarthy finally stood up for himself and walked the hell up out of here, like as he should have, right? And now you don't know what to do. And nobody in their right mind, especially one of these dudes that's up in this higher echelon of coaches, you know, that will probably come into, you know, probably become head coaches in better organizations, better run organizations, right? They don't want to deal with this shit. They don't want to deal with it. Why would you want to? It's crazy, you know? And anybody in their right mind is not going to want to be micromanaged. And you walking into a situation knowing that you're going to be micromanaged, knowing that you're going to be overshadowed by your owner, you know, and your owner is the one that keeps up the most drama in the locker room, the most drama in the damn NFL. That's what you got to deal with. You do. And then you got to deal with stuff like this. Dallas Cowboys free agents this year, man, the list is long. You know, Brandon Cooks, Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Trey Lance. You got the punter, Brian Anger. Eric Kendricks. Jordan Lewis is a free agent. Cooper Rush is a free agent. Linval Joseph is a free agent. CJ Godwin is a free agent. Oseo Digizua, highly sought after free agent. Most of these guys at the top, especially, DeMarcus Lawrence, the people going to look at him. Maybe not so much Trey Lance, but he could get a couple of looks. Eric Kendricks has proven to be a leader. He's going to be looked at a lot. Cooper Rush, you know what you get with Cooper Rush. He's slow and steady, but some teams like slow and steady, especially you want an experienced backup that full well that can come in and win you a couple of games. CJ Godwin, Pro Bowler, especially on special teams, Pro Bowler. Osi Igizua is an up and coming, defensive tackle that is definitely the best defensive tackle that the Cowboys have. Rico Dowdle, started off slow but had a really good year. Probably somebody that you want to re-sign. Who these guys? Who would you want to re-sign? Carl Lawson had an excellent year this year. The list is very long, and there's a lot of things that you have to consider. Especially with people like Kevontae Turpin. Kevontae Turpin has earned a paycheck. He really has earned a paycheck. And what do you want to do in order to keep this? You know what I'm saying? Keep players like Kevontae Turpin. Jordan Lewis had an excellent year. Filled in the holes of that nickel corner, man, and did an excellent job this year. You got to fill these holes in, man. You have to. What are you going to do it? This is the type of stuff that the head coach has to put up with, you know what I'm saying, when he comes into this organization, right? An organization that is not well run and is not well run from the tip top, right? And there's not many people that want to deal with this. There's not. And, hopefully, that somebody, within the organization anywhere can help these people see the light. Here in Dallas, we want to win. We want to win football games. We have a history of winning, even though that history is a long time ago. And I talked to, and I was talking to, some of the people, especially I talk in, Cowboy circles. I talk to people a lot, right? Cowboy fans. And we were talking about how, us as fans, we were young when the Cowboys won a Super Bowl last, right? There's a lot of fans, 32 and below, 30, probably 35 and below, they don't even remember the Cowboys being winners. They've never seen them win anything, right? And this is how you lose your fan base. This is exactly how you lose your fan base. Keep on going with the same old bullshit. It's how you lose them. And I'm gonna love them to the end, right? I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm gonna love them to the day I die, right? However, I don't love what's going on with them. I haven't loved what's going on with them in 30 years. And with the Cowboys, man, it's like one of those areas in my life where I've just accepted defeat. And I don't accept defeat, but I know with the Cowboys, it's not going to end pretty. It's not going to end pretty at all. Strictly because it's how it's run from the top. You got a lot of things going in the offseason that need to be cleaned up. You got to hire a head coach soon, but I think that you can do a lot better than Brian Schottenheimer. I just do. So, it's disappointing. It is. And I know I probably said disappointing on this show probably 10 times tonight, but it is. It's highly disappointing because it can be done better. It can be done a lot better. And especially with the prices that you pay for stuff, you go to Cowboy games, you go in there, and I was looking at the national championship game and I was looking at the prices, in Atlanta, period. They got a brand new, shiny, beautiful stadium too, that they use a lot for a lot of different things. And the reason that they use that stadium for a lot of different things is because Arthur Blank runs a pretty clean organization. He does a pretty good job, man. And he understands that he wants fans in the seats, man. And he sells his tickets at affordable prices. And, $4 hot dogs, $5 beers, $2.50 for some candy, $3 for a soda, $4 for some nachos, $1.50 for some popcorn. These are the prices that you pay at the stadium in Atlanta, a stadium that's newer than Cowboy Stadium, right? What do you do when you go to Cowboy Stadium? A 24-ounce can of Miller Lite is $21. Jerry gonna make his money. You know what I'm saying? He gonna make it regardless, and he gonna have high class, big time events in the stadium. You know what I'm saying? And he gonna sell it out, and he gonna charge you $30 for a premium nacho that's got some damn boiled brisket on the top of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how it is with the Cowboys, man. It is, and it's getting to be old. It really is. We just want to win. That's it, man. Fan base wants the Cowboys to win, and yeah, getting tired of this losing stuff. But anyway, so once this Cowboy hire happens, and it'll probably happen tomorrow, I'll go live again, man. I got a whole show already set aside for whoever they hire. We'll talk about that. But we'll plan on going live probably Monday, and we'll talk about NFC and AFC championship games, man. And it's crazy because the NFC championship game is literally the NFC East. That's highly disappointing too. It really is. And it's your biggest rivals with the minus the Giants are in the NFC championship game because they cleaned up their act and they're doing things the right way. And we just don't seem to get it. Washington got it. They got it quick. They went and cleaned that shit up fast. Houston got it. They cleaned their shit up fast. Your little brother cleaned his act up, and they on the right path. Just seems like we struggling. Now, the Dallas Cowboys are the longest tenured team in the NFC to not reach a championship game. That sucks. That really does. So on Monday, we'll take a look at some holes on this team and how we can fill them. I will say this though about Brian Schottenheimer, and this is kind of I guess it could be a bright light, however you want to look at it. Brian Schottenheimer likes to run the football. He does. He likes to run the football, and he believes in playing good defense. Cowboys hire will go down next week to steal headlines. I'm not even surprised I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. Really, I think I would not be surprised, Charlie, if the hire doesn't happen Sunday right before the NFC and AFC championship games, just so he can steal the highlights that way. That wouldn't surprise me at all, because that's what he does. Jerry has to be the center of attention, and it wouldn't surprise me that the hire comes then. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I agree. I'm telling you, Charlie, I just, that's how I feel about it. And it's probably going to be somebody like Brian Schottenheimer. It probably is, because Jerry knows that he can run that show. He can run that show. Somebody like Deion, man, they'd never be the head coach here, because that's somebody that he can't keep his thumb on, because Deion's personality is just as big, if not bigger than his. You see a picture of Jerry Jones anywhere, you know who that is. Just like if you see a picture of Deion anywhere, you know who that is. And Deion, his persona demands respect and attention. You know what I'm saying? And he's been successful everywhere he's been. He was successful as a high school coach. He went to Jackson State. He was successful there. His first year at Colorado didn't go the way that they wanted, but this past season, they had a really good year. Saturday going into Monday, February 3rd. Yeah. I agree. And the thing about it is that, if you can do this, Charlie, and tell me what you think about this, my brother. If you can bring Schottenheimer in as the head coach, right? And he'll call the plays, whatever. And then you can bring Robert Saleh in at the same time as the defensive coordinator. Do you think that will work? I think it's a better look than Brian Schottenheimer and Mike Zimmer. I think it's a much better look than that. And I would have a little bit of faith in it. But one thing about Schottenheimer, he likes to run the football, and he believes in playing good defense. Saleh would give you that. He comes up with defensive plans. He's a really good defensive coordinator. Didn't really have a good team as a head coach up with the New York Jets, but that whole team is kind of in shambles, right? He likes to run the ball. And that would put Ashton Jeanty into play. It would have to put Ashton Jeanty into play. It would. And I wouldn't mind having Ashton Jeanty. We do need Deion Sanders. We need somebody like that, Isaiah. Not going to lie to you. We really do. But the thing about it is that somebody like Deion don't need the Cowboys, and they won't come here. because they don't want to deal with Jerry. So they did. They offered him to be the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. They did. And I just don't think Jerry's interested in paying a defensive coordinator like that. Shit, he didn't pay Mike McCarthy but $4 million a year. And I know he probably offers Mike McCarthy something like that, at this contract negotiation, probably came in offering him the same old contract, just knowing that he was going to sign it because, he don't think that anywhere else is better than here. And he probably didn't think Mike McCarthy would even get an opportunity to go to other places. But it looks like McCarthy's going to get a chance to. It does. And there was some talk about maybe like, hey, maybe Mike McCarthy would come back. You know what I mean? I wouldn't come back. Hell no. Nope. Mike McCarthy can just retire. His kids love it here in Dallas. His kids are in high school. He always says, his wife and his kids love it here. He can retire and live here and be pretty comfortable doing it. Putting together a staff, Rich, will be special teams, and Schott will be the offensive coordinator, and Pete Carroll the head coach. I hope so. I hope you're right. The thing about it is that you also, another thing that I did not talk about with Cowboy News, and I was so excited to do this damn show that just to talk about the Cowboys. I forgot to put my things up, man. One thing about the Cowboys, right? Especially Jerry, is he likes to hire coordinators and put a coaching staff together for a coach. And there's a lot of people that are turned off by that too. They don't like that. They don't like that that philosophy. They don't like it at all. And you just let Bones Foster go to Tennessee, and Bones Foster was an excellent special teams coordinator. Excellent special teams coordinator. And there's been hearing in the news here lately too that the special teams coach for the Green Bay Packers is like a dark horse to get the job here too. And I can't even remember his name right now. It's not on the top of my head, but we can do so much better, man. We need Deion Sanders. We take it. You know what, man? And I think somewhere like Cleveland, I think that he would do really well there. But I think that Deion is interested in, if he is going to be the head coach of an NFL franchise, he is interested in being a coach where his son is. And if you think about this, right? If you really think about it, those top three teams, Tennessee, specifically the New York Giants. The New York Giants, their front office is kind of in shambles too. And their head coach he's about this far away from getting the can too, right? Giants draft Shador. They come in and have a bad season this year, right? Head coach gets fired. That puts Deion in prime position to go be the coach for the New York Giants, because then he would get to coach his son. Or in Tennessee too. Gives him an opportunity to go coach his son. And I know that's what he really wants to do. He's speaks very highly of his son. His son is a good quarterback, man. And I think his son could do some things. But I think it would do his son some good to kind of get out from under daddy's shadow and just kind of, go off and do your own thing. I really do. But I think Shador is a really good quarterback. I think that he's definitely has some room for improvement. I think, every quarterback in this draft class has room for improvement. But he's talented, and I think that he'll do good, wherever he goes. Your head coach, you should pick your own staff. I mean, yes, Charlie, absolutely, because you want people in position. You want to put people in positions that you feel like best fit you, right? You want guys that you've been working with. You're going to bring guys with you, guys, that got your back. I know that this dude's got my back. I know he's got my best interest in mind, and he's going to run the organization, or he's going to run his portion of the organization to the best of his ability, right? And when you have a guy that just does that for you, it doesn't give you that freedom. So what if Jerry's putting together a staff for Deion because Deion is leaving Colorado with his staff? Now, I will counter that statement. I will counter that statement, Charlie, with this. What if Jerry is putting a staff together for Jason Witten? Because that's who he really wants in the end. Jason Witten's not going to leave high school football this year because his son is in his senior year. And it's kind of the same thing with Dion. It's kind of that same kind of philosophy. He wants to coach his sons. He wants to see it through. But Jason Witten loves the Cowboys. He's been dealing with this shit. He dealt with it his whole career. And he knows how this organization works. And there's a lot of people that think that he would be a really, really good coach, NFL coach, a leader of men, right? They believe that he would be. What if he's putting this together for Jason Witten? We'll take his son over these bum-ass quarterbacks we had. You know what, man? Shador would do really good in Cleveland. I believe that he would do. They have some pretty talented receivers. You got a good tight end. You got a really good running game. You got a decent offensive line, better offensive line than he had at Jackson State in Colorado by far. He would actually have some time to throw. I think that he would be a pretty good fit in Cleveland. Charlie, I'm telling you, man, I think that's what's happening. I think that this is like whoever's the hire right now is just the coaching waiting until Jason Witten gets freed up and then he can come in here. Even if he comes in here as some kind of coach on the coaching staff, right, for a few years, let somebody like Schottenheimer come in and waste another 3 years. You know what I'm saying? I can have him waste 2 or 3 years as the coach, get rid of him, and then just take Witten off the staff and move him up into the head coaching spot, because I think that's something that he really wants. And I think that's something that him and Steven would be in agreement with too. Dion's going to draw too much attention. You know what? You know what, man? Think about this. And Charlie, you onto something, man, because I've had this conversation a couple of times. Think about it. When Arch comes out, Dak will be what, 35, 36? It'll be right around the time where you need to start looking at another quarterback. That would be the guy. That would be the guy. But here's the thing, right? Don't waste Arch's years too. You've already wasted 2 talented quarterbacks' years. You've wasted them. You wasted Romo's years. You wasting Dak's years. You're wasting them. And I've heard a lot of things about this injury that Dak has too, where it says that he won't be able to drive the ball the same. Dak don't have a strong arm anyway. So what's Dak going to turn into? Cooper Rush? You know what I'm saying? You've wasted these years away. You put these teams together, and with, especially Dak's rookie year, I think 2021, 2022 and 2021 and 22 and 23. Those were really good, talented football teams that just had no leadership. They had no direction. And you could really tell that in the game they played against San Francisco when Tony Pollard broke his ankle. They had an excellent game plan, and in that first quarter and a little bit through the second quarter, they had no problems moving the ball against the San Francisco defense. Tony Pollard goes down, breaks his ankle, and the whole team just goes to shit. Nothing. They can't move the ball anymore, right? They have no game plan. Like I say all the time on this show, man, I say it all the time. Checkerboard goes away, and the chessboard comes out, and you don't have coaches that can play chess. Because if you bring chess players in here as coaches, they're going to outshine your owner. I appreciate you subscribing, Charlie, man. Thank you very much. I love talking about these Cowboys, my brother. If you want, just come on here, man, and we can talk about them all day. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for subscribing, my man. I can see somebody like Jason Witten being the head coach. I really could. I could see that happening. I just don't think that they're serious about winning, man. It's no use watching this team. We are average at best. Listen, I agree. But there's a lot of us, man, you know what I'm saying, that we invested in this thing to the end, because no matter what, I just love the Cowboys just because they're the Cowboys, man. Since I was a kid, and I watched them win, and I watched them win Super Bowls, and I remember going to the parade with my dad, man. And even though people were acting a fool and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a really good time, and I just remember those times. Now it has become very average, and it has become very disappointing. And I think the most challenging part about the whole thing is that it could be turned around really, really fast if the owner would just let go. Swallow your pride and let go. And the thing about it is that he could sit back. The dude is getting older, man. He could literally hire a GM and just sit back and reap the benefits. And he would get all the publicity and all the TV time and all the interviews and everything that he would want. It would be tenfold. If the Cowboys won, the whole sports world would just be upside down, right? But he is dead set on doing it his way because he wants to prove to Jimmy Johnson that he can. Oh man, listen. When the Cowboys were at their prime, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, that defense, Ken Norton, Larry Brown, Kevin Smith, Darren Woodson, Leon Lett, Tony Tolbert, you couldn't beat them. You couldn't beat them. They were tough. They were tough, and they were tough out no matter where they went, home or away. They were tough. It's just not the same anymore, man. It's not. Jerry Jones is investing in the team, all the media hype. Him and his son are in the same in their philosophy. Yeah, man. And their philosophy is money. They want the money. They don't care. And like I say it on here all the time. It is hard, super difficult to tell a dude that paid $176 million for something that is now worth $12 billion. It's hard to tell him he's losing, man. It's hard. Dion, when and that was, and this is crazy. If you think about this, Isaiah, right? And I know you're a Browns fan, but just think about this. The last big free agent signing that the Cowboys had was Deion Sanders. That's the last one. Think about how long ago that was, though. Deion is now a successful college coach. His sons are going to the NFL this year. 30 years ago. 32 years ago, you bought Deion Sanders in here. That was the last big free agent signing that you've had. And you went and got him. You know what I'm saying? You knew that you needed another corner to make this team successful. You had to shut down some of these teams that had passing games, and you went and got the best one because you wanted to win, right? And that was your philosophy then. The philosophy has changed. It has changed tremendously. And that's just what it is. And us Cowboy fans are here left thinking like, hey, man, watching all these NFC championship games and these Super Bowls, man, and you watching Patrick Mahomes just run around and just do his thing. And this year you watching Josh Allen run around and do his thing. And that's going to be an excellent football team. And then you watch the Commanders just change their whole philosophy and go get a rookie quarterback, and voila, they're in the NFC championship game. And Philly puts together a good team every single year, despite having salary cap concerns, probably bigger salary cap concerns than the Dallas Cowboys have, but they find a way to put a decent team on the field every year. And they'll go get a player like Saquon Barkley, right? They'll go do that. And they'll rebuild the defense, and they'll draft players like Jalen Carter. You know what I'm saying? Who's probably turning into one of the best, if not the best defensive tackle in football right now. You know what I'm saying? They'll go get people like that. They will. And because they want to win, right? Cowboys don't want to do nothing but sell tickets and sell these damn $25 beers. That's what they're concerned with, because they want to put more money in their pocket. That's it. Always got to be the center of attention. Always. Listen. It's either him or Lawrence Taylor. One of the two. Lawrence Taylor was that dude, but Deion was that dude too. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady, you know what I'm saying? He was a good quarterback that had a very good system that he played in, and things worked out for him. You know what I'm saying? He went got that last ring with Tampa because Tampa was loaded. That team was loaded to the T. And he knew he could win with that football team. They had two killer wide receiver. Still got him. You know, Chris Godwin got hurt this year, but Mike Evans got hurt for a little while and came back. Still the same old Mike Evans. He went and got Gronk. You know what I'm saying? That's all he needed. They had a solid defense. He knew he could win with that team. Yeah. GOATs. You know what I'm saying? And Dion, you know, he knows what it takes to win. He knows what it takes to win at this level in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? He can come in and guide some people in that direction, right? But like I said, that light is too bright. It's too bright. It's too bright for AT&T. Jerry want the only bright light coming out of AT&T to be in that owner's box. That's it. And that's on him. That's what it is. Anyway, so you're right. But, you know, what it took for Washington is Washington was under a similar situation in Dan Snyder. And it took getting Dan Snyder out of the way and bringing, you know, the group with Magic Johnson in. And they hired a general manager. And I played an interview on my last show where Magic Johnson said, we got the team, we cleaned up some stuff, we hired some football people to do football things, and we got out the way. We did not want to make it about us. And then the interview changes and it goes to Jerry Jones, and it asks Jerry, would he ever consider hiring, you know, a general manager to come in and run football things? And he said, hell no. When I bought this team, I told y'all in the very first interview that I did as the Cowboy owner. I bought an occupation, and nobody can do this like me. And I'm the one that's going to do this. And Washington, 32 years of failure, right? Of failure. And they had the longest streak in the NFC of not reaching a championship game. And they changed that shit in 1 year. 1 year. You get the football people in the building and you move the hell out the way. And you let football people do football things. And good things will happen. Another team was Houston. Houston had a lot of distractions. A lot of Instagram distractions with their quarterback, right? They had a ton of them. They got that out the way. They got a new general manager, and the ownership got the hell out the way. And they've been pretty successful these last couple of years. They go get a fiery head coach that they know is gonna move the crowd. You know what I'm saying? A leader of men. That's what they went and got. They went and got a leader of men. And he's doing a pretty damn good job leading the men, too. Lawrence Taylor is Iverson. Tom Brady is Curly. Tom Brady might be more. He might, man. Would you give Tom Brady Larry Bird? I don't know if it's that great. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady was a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, man. But you know, he didn't. You know, he couldn't run. He didn't have the strongest arm. But damn it, man, he was accurate, and he knew how to. He took command of that offense, man, and he could definitely lead them in the right direction. Agreed. Charlie, and the reason Parcells left early, man, I did my research on this one. Is Parcells went into meetings or whatever. You know, he went into a meeting with Jerry, and he was like, "Look, if you just let me do this my way, I can take you over the top. I'm literally winning. You know, I'm winning the division and getting into playoff games with Quincy Carter quarterback. Let me do my thing." Let me have control of this organization. Let me have control of the football part of this organization, and I'll bring you some championships. Jerry was like, "No, I'm not doing that." So Parcells was like, "All right, I'm out," and I don't blame him. He rode off into the sunset, never coached again. He was cool with it. You know what I'm saying? But that's the type of coaches that Jerry will hire. Coaches on last chance you. That's what I'm gonna start calling the Cowboys. Last chance you. This is your last opportunity to be a head coach. Like Brian Schottenheimer, this is his first and last opportunity to be a head coach, right? Kellen Moore, he probably don't want to mess up his track record. He finally got on the right track, right? He'd be like, man, just send me to the Raiders. I can work with that. They gonna get out of my way. You know what I'm saying? Send me to New Orleans. They gonna get out of my way. Send me to Chicago. All Chicago needed some guidance. They always got a good defense, and they got a young quarterback, a young, talented quarterback. Let me work with that. Here, you got a quarterback that's starting to peak, right? He's starting to get in his prime years. Starting, he's definitely accelerating them, getting them hurt every year. You know what I'm saying? You got no running game. You got one wide receiver. You got a shaky offensive line. You got no defensive inside threat at all. You got some pretty decent linebackers, but your best linebacker, probably your best linebacker on the team, been hurt 2 years in a row. You got a suspect secondary. One of your corners got a bad knee. You don't know if he ever going to be back. The other corner's pretty decent, and you ain't got no safeties. And you're not going to give me the freedom to fix that. Because with all them free agents that they have, that's going to free up a whole lot of money, right? And you're going to have an opportunity to get some free agents, but you have to attack free agency. You have to. You got to attack it because you can fill these roster spots with some young players, you know what I'm saying, that just want to play football. They're good athletes and they want to play football. And there's a lot of free agents coming out in 2025, a lot. And you don't have to go get the top free agents. You don't have to go get them. You can get guys that just want to come in here and do their job, play a role for this football team and win. And you got to have somebody to guide that. You do, right? But the problem is that Jerry will probably sign 3/4 of the list that's on them free agents. He'll probably sign 3/4 to come back in with the same old shit. They won't do anything in free agency. You know, they'll draft decently, right? It'll be B, C draft, and then come back in here and say, okay, let's win us a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Jerry got his media deal. If you think about it, Dallas has been in the media right after that. I mean, they're always in the media, no matter what. He was Diggs is a ball hawk. Diggs used to play wide receiver. Diggs got good hands, right? But Diggs would get burnt. You double move Diggs, and you might leave him standing right there because he's gonna jump the route. You're right about that. I think that he's good. I think that he was good. I don't think that even what you got before, I don't think you'll get that again. I don't. But he got paid. He got paid. He did. He put some money in his pocket. That's for sure. You got to find, there's a, I mean, for what you got. Yeah. And that's another thing that's kind of concerning to me too, is that, they paid a lot of money for him and then he got hurt. And then he, so much talk, especially, doing OTAs and all that stuff last year around March, April, May time frame last year that Diggs wasn't taking his rehab serious. He got paid a lot of money to take that shit serious and come back on this football field and be a contributor. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't do that. And maybe, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but maybe that had something to do with his knee not behaving the way that it should have behaved because he didn't rehab it right. Because it sounds like one of those things like where it never really healed right and you started playing on it and you tore it up even worse. That's what it sounds like to me. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. That's just my opinion. All right. So we've been at this for 53 minutes. If something happens with this coaching thing, man, I'm going to come right back on here and I'm going to go live. And we'll talk about that. Like I said, I got the perfect show planned for that. Yeah, and we'll talk about it. I'm hoping it's not what everybody thinks that it's going to be. I'm hoping. And Charlie, I'm hoping you're right, man. I'm hoping it's something like he going to surprise us. I mean, I really think Pete Carroll is leaps and bounds better than what the consensus is right now or what the favorite is right now. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if Pete Carroll's going to come in here and really let you control him either. Because Pete Carroll, he's kind of a live wire too. You know what I'm saying? He like to come, Pete, he done got older, but he liked to throw passes and he liked to come out here, he liked to walk on the field with his cell phone, in his sunglasses at 7:30 at night, and Pete's teams are always good It's always good. But Pete had a lot of freedom in Seattle. A lot of freedom in Seattle. And Pete is not going to get that freedom here. And I don't know if Pete Carroll is one of those guys that's going to accept that. Because Pete right now could ride off into the sunset, and he's borderline a Hall of Fame coach. And I don't know if I'm willing to do that and come here and ruin that. I don't know if I am. I don't. I have to win despite Jerry. That's crazy. I don't know if I'm willing to do that. Not at 72 years old or however, he's kind of up there too. You know? Um, I don't know if I'm willing to do that. Pete absolutely knows how to draft. He does. He does know how to draft. And I would hope that if you do get somebody like Pete Carroll, you would come in here and let him influence your draft picks too. I hope so. I hope you do. But Pete is one of those kind of guys that Jerry respects. He got a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Jerry, he thinks he's a Super Bowl champion. He's won a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? He known for blowing one too. Just run Marshawn Lynch and you got you a few Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? But, he won at Seattle. That Legion of Boom years, that was an excellent football team. They let Russ cook. You know what I'm saying? He definitely let Russ cook. And Pete would do some things here, you know what I'm saying? He would bring a philosophy. His offensive philosophy is kind of old and outdated, but he probably brings somebody in here, a younger guy that would probably get your offensive, at least your philosophy up, at least where you're not so damn predictable. You know what I'm saying? It would be good for him. So if the Jones are not going to spend money in free agency, you better draft correctly. And that's the thing, man, is that they don't spend money in free agency. And all these teams that they've put together, man, they've done pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? You got, CeeDee Lamb fell in your lap. You got lucky with Dak. You got lucky with him. Micah Parsons fell in your lap. Tyler Smith fell in your lap. You know what I'm saying? You've put together a foundation that's pretty decent. You're about 2 or 3 years away from having to find a quarterback. And like you said earlier, man, Arch Manning is probably the perfect dude, right? It makes a lot of sense. But it's just so influenced. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing is so influenced by Jerry and what he wants to do. You know what I'm saying? It's so influenced. You got to be able, you have to balance this thing out. It's kind of like Clemson football. They don't believe in going into the portal. And you saw the decline of it after it happened. The Cowboys don't believe in free agency, and they haven't done it in a long, long time. And you see what the results are. Probably the best free agent they've had probably in the last 10 years was probably Stephon Gilmore. Probably. They just don't bring in free agents. They don't. Eric Kendricks didn't do bad this year, though. He didn't do terrible. But anyway, okay, we'll go live as soon as this coaching thing happens. And I expect that it'll probably happen within the next few days. Monday, we'll go live regardless, and we'll talk about free agency. And what some of these holes that the Cowboys have and what they can do to fill these holes. And if they work this thing correctly, man, I truly and honestly believe that you can put together a quality football team despite having a $60 million quarterback and a $35 million receiver, a $33 million receiver. I think that they can put together a quality football team and re-sign Michael Parsons and put a team together that would be pretty competitive next year. And we'll talk about this draft thing too as well, man. We'll start getting into that because you've got a pretty prime pick. And I think that I know you need something dynamic. You need a home run hitter. And because that's something that the Cowboys don't have. Not right now. They don't have one. CeeDee Lamb is always quadruple team, so he can't be no home run hitter. So, anyway, we'll talk about that stuff. We'll get into it. But I got a feeling that I'll see you guys real soon because I got a feeling that this coaching hire is going to happen in the next couple of days. I really do. And I hope it's not disappointing. That's the 19th time I've said that tonight. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, man. If you have not done it yet, please hit the like button, subscribe button. And once we go off this live, man, share it, man. Get it around. Let's get these subscriptions up, man, and make this thing take off to where it needs to be. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining in, man. Thank you for the new subscribers. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great night, man. Peace.